My father used to tell me, respect isn't something you demand, it's something you inspire. But what happens when the very children you raised with love, sacrifice, and patience begin to treat you with indifference or even disrespect? If you're feeling unheard, unappreciated, or sidelined, let me tell you this: you are not alone. And more importantly, there's a way to turn things around. Respect starts from within. Before expecting others, especially your children, to respect you, you must first acknowledge your own worth. Too often, parents dedicate their entire lives to raising their children, sacrificing their own needs, dreams, and sometimes even their dignity. While this is done out of love, it can sometimes lead to a loss of self-identity. If you don't see yourself as valuable, how can you expect others to treat you as such? Self-respect is not arrogance. It is recognizing your own importance and carrying yourself with dignity. Your time is valuable. As parents, we get used to putting our children's needs before our own. But as they grow older, it's essential to reclaim our time. If you constantly make yourself available without boundaries, others may take you for granted. This doesn't mean you stop helping or caring. It means you acknowledge that your time is just as important as anyone else's. Start prioritizing activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Whether it's reading, gardening, learning something new, or simply resting, treating your time with respect will teach others to do the same. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. If you allow your children to interrupt, dismiss, or speak to you disrespectfully without addressing it, the behavior will continue. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about teaching them how to treat you. When you say, "I won't tolerate being spoken to like this," you are not being harsh. You are setting a standard. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow. Holding firm boundaries doesn't mean you love your children any less. It means you love yourself enough to demand respect. Confidence is key. When you carry yourself with confidence, people automatically respond differently to you. Speak with clarity and authority. Avoid hesitant language like, "Maybe I'm wrong, but," or "I don't know, but I think." These phrases weaken your position and make it easier for others to dismiss you. Instead, say what you mean with conviction. "I believe this is the best choice," or "I deserve to be heard." The way you communicate reflects how much you value yourself, and others will follow your lead. Your years of wisdom and experience hold immense value. Life has taught you lessons that no school or book can replace. You have seen hardships, navigated challenges, and come out stronger. Your experiences deserve to be respected, not dismissed. Don't allow the modern world to make you feel outdated or irrelevant. Instead, share your wisdom confidently and don't be afraid to remind others, especially your children, that the lessons of life never expire. True wisdom stands the test of time. You are more than just a parent. While being a mother or father is a significant part of your identity, it is not the only part. You are an individual with your own dreams, thoughts, and aspirations. Sometimes when children grow up, parents struggle with a sense of loss because their role shifts. But this is an opportunity to reconnect with yourself beyond your parental role. Take up new interests, meet new people, and rediscover the person you were before you became just mom or just dad. Your individuality deserves to be honored. Self-respect is the foundation of all relationships. When you respect yourself, you naturally command respect from others. If you allow people to mistreat you, you give them permission to continue. But when you stand your ground and expect to be treated with dignity, others will adjust their behavior accordingly. This is not about demanding respect forcefully. It's about inspiring it through your own actions and presence. The way you see yourself sets the tone for how others see you. At the end of the day, self-respect is a mindset. It is a choice you make every single day. To carry yourself with pride, to set boundaries, to value your time, and to speak with confidence. The more you respect yourself, the more you will notice a shift in how others, including your children, treat you. Respect is not given, it is earned, and it starts with you. Boundaries are not about creating distance, they are about establishing respect. Many parents, especially as their children grow older, find themselves in situations where they tolerate dismissive behavior. interruptions, or even outright disrespect because they fear pushing their children away. But the truth is, setting boundaries strengthens relationships, not weakens them. When you establish clear expectations for how you wish to be treated, you teach your children that love and respect go hand in hand. You are not just their parent, you are a human being who deserves to be valued. One of the biggest mistakes parents make is believing that unconditional love means unconditional tolerance. Love is patient, but it is not blind. If your children speak to you rudely, ignore your presence, or only reach out when they need something, it is your responsibility to correct that behavior. Saying, "I will not continue this conversation if you speak to me in that tone," or "I expect to be treated with respect if you want my help," reinforces your worth. Boundaries are not about punishing your children. They are about teaching them the right way to engage with you. Consistency is key when setting boundaries. If you establish a boundary but fail to enforce it, it loses its meaning. For example, if you tell your children that you won't tolerate being interrupted, but then you allow it repeatedly without consequence, they will learn that your words carry no weight. Boundaries must be firm, clear, and consistently upheld. You don't need to be aggressive, simply be firm. A calm but steady reminder like, "I am happy to help, but I won't tolerate disrespect," sends a strong message that you take yourself seriously, and they should too. Lastly, setting boundaries also means knowing when to step back. Not every battle needs to be fought, and sometimes the best way to teach a lesson is to remove yourself from situations where you feel disrespected. If a conversation turns into an argument, don't engage in unnecessary conflict. Simply say, "I'll be here when you're ready to speak respectfully," and walk away. This shows that you value yourself too much to stay in an environment that drains your peace. Over time, your children will realize that your presence is a privilege, not something to be taken for granted. When dealing with disrespect from children, your first instinct may be to confront them forcefully, demanding better treatment. However, confrontation often leads to defensiveness rather than understanding. Instead of engaging in a battle of words, focus on clear, calm, and assertive communication. When you approach a conversation with anger or frustration, the other person, especially younger generations, may shut down, ignore you, or respond with even more negativity. But when you communicate with patience and clarity, you open the door for real change. Respect is not forced, it is cultivated through meaningful dialogue. One of the best ways to communicate effectively is to express your feelings without blame. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try saying, "I feel unappreciated when my words are ignored." This small shift in language makes a big difference. Blame puts people on the defensive, while personal expressions encourage reflection. Your children may not even realize how their behavior is affecting you until you calmly explain it. When you communicate from a place of honesty and vulnerability, they are more likely to listen rather than react. Another key to healthy communication is choosing the right time and place. Trying to correct behavior in the heat of an argument rarely leads to a positive outcome. Instead, wait for a moment when emotions aren't running high, maybe during a peaceful dinner, a casual walk, or a quiet evening at home. Approach the conversation with a mindset of connection rather than correction. Instead of attacking their behavior, ask thoughtful questions like, "Do you feel like we communicate well? How can we improve our relationship?" This encourages mutual respect and understanding rather than conflict. Lastly, remember that listening is just as important as speaking. Many times, when children are disrespectful, it's because they themselves feel unheard or misunderstood. Before demanding respect, take a moment to truly listen to their thoughts, struggles, and perspectives. When you show them that their feelings matter, they are more likely to reciprocate that same level of respect. Communication is a two-way street. By fostering open and respectful discussions, you create a foundation where both you and your children feel valued and understood. Respect is not something you beg for, it's something you command through your presence, actions, and self-worth. Many parents, out of love and a deep desire to stay connected with their children, unknowingly fall into the habit of pleading for attention, affection, or basic respect. But the moment you start begging, you diminish your own value in their eyes. Instead of saying, "Why didn't you call me anymore?" Or, "Please spend time with me." Shift your mindset. You are not asking for a favor. You are setting a standard. Respect is not a request, it is an expectation. The way you carry yourself plays a huge role in how others treat you. If you act like someone who needs to be pitied or accommodated, that is how people, including your children, will see you. Instead, embody confidence. Speak with authority, hold your head high, and establish boundaries that reflect your self-worth. A simple shift in tone can change everything. Instead of saying, "I wish you would listen to me," say, "I expect to be heard when I speak." When you speak with certainty, people take you seriously. It's also important to understand that overgiving can lead to a lack of respect. If you constantly give without limits, whether it's financial support, time, or emotional energy, you teach others that your presence is guaranteed no matter how they treat you. Love should be unconditional, but access to your time and energy should not be. If your children only come to you when they need something, but disappear when you need them, set a boundary. Let them know that relationships are built on mutual respect, not just one-sided giving. Another mistake many parents make is seeking validation from their children. You do not need their approval to feel worthy. If you constantly look for reassurance, asking, "Do you love me?" or "Do you appreciate all I've done for you?" you put yourself in a position of weakness. Instead, operate from a mindset that says, "I know my worth whether you acknowledge it or not." When you believe in your own value, others will start to recognize it too. The strongest relationships come from mutual respect, not one person constantly seeking validation from the other. At the end of the day, demanding respect doesn't mean being aggressive or cold. It means setting a standard for how you allow yourself to be treated. You are not just a parent, you are an individual who has lived, learned, and sacrificed. You deserve to be treated with dignity. Speak with confidence, hold firm to your boundaries, and never beg for what should be given freely. When you respect yourself, you teach others, including your children, to do the same. As parents, we naturally want to give our children everything: our time, energy, support, and even financial help, no matter how old they get. But when giving becomes excessive and one-sided, it can lead to entitlement rather than appreciation. Overgiving teaches children that they can take without reciprocating, often resulting in a lack of respect. Love should be unconditional, but constant, unchecked giving can create an unhealthy dynamic where your kindness is taken for granted. It's important to recognize that giving should be balanced, and your needs matter just as much as theirs. One of the main reasons parents overgive is the fear of losing their children's affection. Some parents believe that by always saying yes, whether it's to financial support, favors, or emotional availability, they can keep their children close. But the reality is, respect doesn't come from giving endlessly. It comes from setting boundaries. When you give too much without limits, you stop being seen as an individual with needs and start being viewed as a resource. Instead of constantly offering help, let your children step up and take responsibility for their own lives. Setting limits on your giving doesn't mean you love your children any less. It means you are teaching them self-reliance and the value of mutual respect. If they only call when they need something, don't immediately jump to fulfill their requests. Instead, ask yourself, would they do the same for me? Healthy relationships are built on a two-way exchange of care and support. By stepping back and allowing them to solve their own problems, you help them grow while also preserving your own well-being. At some point, you must prioritize yourself. You have spent years, maybe even decades, giving endlessly to your children, but now it's time to invest in your own happiness. Focus on your own interests, hobbies, and friendships. Show your children that your life does not revolve solely around them. When they see you valuing yourself, they will be more likely to respect you and appreciate the times when you do choose to give. True love isn't about exhausting yourself to please others. It's about maintaining a healthy balance where both sides give and receive with respect. One of the biggest traps parents fall into, especially as their children grow older, is seeking their approval. You may find yourself longing for their validation, wanting them to acknowledge your sacrifices, appreciate your wisdom, or simply express gratitude. But when you tie your self-worth to your children's approval, you place your happiness in their hands. The truth is, you do not need anyone's validation to know your value. You have lived a full life, gained wisdom through experience, and that alone is enough to stand tall in your own worth. Seeking approval often leads to bending over backward to please your children, even at the cost of your own happiness. You may hesitate to express your true opinions out of fear of upsetting them. You may agree to things you don't want to do just to keep the peace. But in doing so, you silence yourself and weaken your position in their eyes. True respect comes not from pleasing everyone, but from standing firm in who you are. You do not need to be liked at all times to be respected. You need to be authentic. Letting go of the need for approval also means understanding that your children's choices and opinions do not define you. If they disagree with your beliefs, lifestyle, or decisions, that's okay. You raise them to be independent thinkers, and that means they won't always see things the way you do. Accept that they may have their own paths, but that doesn't diminish your own. You don't need their constant reassurance to know you did your best as a parent. Stand by your values and let their approval be a bonus, not a necessity. When you stop seeking validation, you gain true freedom. You no longer feel anxious about whether your children appreciate you enough or recognize your efforts. Instead, you live for yourself, making decisions based on what brings you fulfillment rather than what earns their praise. Ironically, when you stop chasing approval, you often gain more respect because people admire those who are confident in their own worth. Your role as a parent is not to be liked at all times. It's to be respected and to live your life with dignity regardless of others' opinions.